Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to the devotees for this exclusive question answer session. I have 6 questions here from the previous sessions. You can send more questions through live chat and I'll try to answer them in the next 1 hour. The first question here is, in today's morning lecture you mentioned Kshara and Akshara. So, Kshara and Akshara, when they become one, is it the realization of Paramatma? Can one attain Bhagavan, feature of the Lord, directly? So the first part of the question, Kshara and Akshara becoming one. There is no such thing as becoming one. Kshara means the conditioned souls who are in this material world. And Akshara refers to the liberated souls in the spiritual world. There is no question of them becoming one. Then the next part of the question, can one attain Bhagavan, feature of the Lord, directly? Bhakti is the process to directly realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is no other way. So, Bhagavan realization includes realization of Brahman and Paramatma. It's complete realization of all the 3 features. Next question. In the 14 planetary system, there are 14 planets. No. Planetary system means a group of planets having a certain standard of facilities. Earthly planetary systems. That means, like the Earth planet, there are many other planets who all belong to this particular Bhuloka. Loka means planetary system. Swarga Loka, Mahar Loka, Jala Loka, thousands and millions of planets could be there in each Loka, in each planetary system. So then it's not difficult to understand 33 crore demigod residences. So, because there are millions and billions of planets, nobody can count in one universe, spread over 14 planetary systems, groups of planets. Next question. If one doesn't even lose his identity when he merges in Brahma Jyoti, how is Vaikuntha regarded as a non-dual world? The identity of the living being is never lost at any time. That is thus eternity. That's the eternality of the living being. And eternally, it's got identity as a part and parcel of Krishna, a unique, distinct part and parcel. So, how is Vaikuntha regarded as non-dual world? Non-dual world means the duality of the material world is not there in the spiritual world. The spiritual world is absolute. It's like here, there is no meaning to father without son. Somebody's father means he has got a son, therefore he is called a father. Or there is no meaning to, like the opposites, heat and cold, pleasure and pain. Many times it is described that material world in a sense is only pain or only misery, but sometimes if we get relief from misery, we think it is pleasure or it is enjoyment. Actually, there is no enjoyment at all. It is simply a case of dvandva, this duality. There is no such dvandva because in the spiritual world there is the absolute standard of pleasure. Absolute pleasure. It is not relative to something else. So there is no relativity in the spiritual world. That's the meaning of non-dual. No relativity. Whereas this world we are staying in is a relative world. The fourth question, the Lord Krishna, which incarnated in the material world 5000 years ago, is he the original Goloka Krishna or some other past time incarnation? He is the original Goloka Krishna. In Vrindavan, he is in his Shama Sundara form. And in Mathura and Dwarka, he is in his Vasudeva form. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference for as far as we are concerned as devotees, because Krishna is Krishna. He reciprocates with every devotee according to the devotee's service, according to the devotee's relationship with Krishna. Krishna relates with every jiva, with every living entity, with every living being. He has a very specific relationship with each individual jiva. So, as a individual soul related to Krishna, I should be interested in what is my specific relationship with Krishna. And I should also be aware that Krishna is unlimited. If he relates with me, it's not that he is absent in some other relationship. That's the case in the material world. Like Krishna, he had 16,108 queens in Dwaraka when he incarnated here. So he was expanding into 16,108 forms. And nobody is deprived of his association. So the understanding of Krishna should be very clear that he is the unlimited Lord. We have no experience of some person being unlimited in this material world. Or even for a matter in the spiritual world, no jiva is unlimited. Everyone is limited. Krishna is the only unlimited personality. And as the unlimited person, he has unlimited number of forms. And he expands in those forms and relates with devotees for the sake of receiving their service in loving reciprocation. Next question. How different incarnation like Vasudeva act within Krishna? Within Krishna, somebody's acting means Krishna is the reservoir of all different kinds of forms of the Supreme Lord. He is the source, he is the origin, he is the reservoir, like that. But as far as the devotees are concerned, the particular expansion or particular form of Krishna who reciprocates with the devotee, receives the service, relates with the devotee is very unique. It is very special and unique. So, incarnations like Vasudeva act within Krishna, there is a description in the Krishna book, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, that whenever demons used to come to Vrindavan to attempt to kill Krishna, that time Krishna as Shama Sundara, he is engaged with his coward boyfriends in his pastimes of playing with those boyfriends, with the cows or calves. It is the Vasudeva Krishna who is engaged in killing the demons, in fighting the demons. So Krishna as Vrindavan Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra, he never engages in fighting with demons. That is done in another form, expansion form called Vasudeva Krishna. Like that. So, how can they act within Krishna means all the forms are simultaneously present. It is not that some forms appear and disappear in the material world. No, all forms are present. The appearance and disappearance is for our vision, that's all. But actually Krishna is eternally present, always present, eternally present. The devotees, for example, in the Brahma Samhita it is said, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santas sadaiva hrudayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This verse describes how the Supreme Lord is always seen with the eyes anointed with love by the pure devotees who always see Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. Santaha, the devotees. Sadaiva Hrudayeshu Vilo. Within their hearts they are always able to see Krishna. Krishna is always present. He is never absent. But we may not be able to see because we are not yet developed that love for Krishna. So we may not be able to see unless he gives darshan, unless he incarnates in a form that is visible to ordinary eyes. We cannot see him. But that doesn't mean he is not present. He is always present in all his forms, eternally present. Next question. Lord Krishna did Rasa Leela with the gopis and Radharani in the spiritual world. Hence Jivas became envious of Lord. No, this is not the correct reasoning. Jivas becoming envious because Krishna performed Rasa Leela is not the understanding. Jiva becomes envious of Krishna because Jiva wants to enjoy like Krishna, or wants to imitate Krishna, or want to take Krishna's position. Now, this is not some kind of that's not something you can understand from the material platform. This envy is not like that. That ordinary in material world we see people are envious, one person is envious of another person. No, it is not like that. This is something which we have to accept it as the scriptural revelation, and we have to awaken our dormant love for Krishna or Krishna consciousness through the method of bhakti. Then these things will never matter for us. Actually, all these descriptions which are difficult for us to comprehend at the present moment, that jivas in the material world are envious of Krishna. We don't understand what kind of envy it is. It is not like the envy of the materialists or the common people or ordinary people. No, it is something totally different. The next question. Material senses are imperfect. Knowledge received through them is imperfect. Spiritual knowledge also received through same senses. How can we know what is real and perfect knowledge? Material senses are imperfect, yes. So knowledge received through them will also be imperfect. That's correct. But then, when we hear a pure devotee speak, then without interpretation, if we hear exactly what they are speaking, then we are receiving perfect knowledge. That is perfect knowledge. Just like Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, many times Srila Prabhupada points out, why do some translators interpret the words of Krishna? Krishna says, surrender to me. So the meaning is very clear, we should surrender to Krishna. But sometimes some translator will say, one should not surrender to the person Krishna, but to something within Krishna. Where is he getting this interpretation? This is not correct. Interpreting the words of the scripture. No. That's why in Parampara system, the knowledge is received without any change. Without any distortion, without any addition, without any subtraction, without any distortion. And that knowledge, perfect knowledge, which is coming down, is to be received as it is. Srila Prabhupada has given the title of this Bhagavad Gita translation and purport is written as Bhagavad Gita as it is. Why is he calling it as it is? Because it's the way he has received in the Parampara system. So perfect knowledge, clear knowledge, direct knowledge, complete knowledge, we can say, is received, and we simply receive it. Of course, we can use our intelligence to understand it, and if we don't understand, we can put forward questions to get clarification. That is allowed. That is also very much encouraged also. No blind acceptance. But then we cannot speculate. We should not speculate. We can speculate or not, I don't know. But we should not speculate, because if we speculate, then the original knowledge is completely distorted. Then everything is spoiled. It's completely spoiled. In the Bhagavatam there is a verse that says, Jnane prayasam udapasya namantai. The Bhagavatam says this method of speculation, mental speculation or intellectual adjustment, interpretation, that should be completely rejected if you want perfect knowledge, if you want proper spiritual understanding of the truth, absolute truth. You can never realize the truth or understand the absolute truth by speculation. Never possible. Next question. If we do not perfect our spiritual progress in this human form, what will be our destination in the next life? What body will we enter in the next life? If we are engaged in spiritual activities, but somehow at the end of this life we are not reached perfection, we are given another opportunity to continue from where we left off in the end of this life, and till we reach perfection, Krishna is protecting us. Krishna is protecting us. He is making all arrangements for us to continue our devotional service till we reach perfection. That is Krishna's kindness for us. Krishna is more eager to get us back to his personal abode than we may be interested. This is explained by Srila Prabhupada in the first canto, second chapter, 17th verse purport. He says that Krishna is more eager. We may or may not be interested, but Krishna is very eager to get us back. It's like a child has run away from home. The father or the parents are more eager to get back the child home, and the child may be interested in going back home. So exactly like that, Krishna is more interested in getting us back to his personal abode. So Krishna is always protective of his devotees. Krishna ensures that in the next life we continue from where we left off. He makes all arrangements to make situations favorable for us to continue our Krishna consciousness, and we can be assured of a very good birth in the next life, where we get a very good opportunity to continue our devotional service. Next question. What type of liberation do people get when they go to the spiritual world? Can they see Krishna's transcendental form? Of course. Liberation means attaining one's, it is described in the Bhagavatam, Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthitihi. Mukti means, liberation means attaining one's original spiritual form in the spiritual world. And in that form, actually, one is able to connect with Krishna in the form in which we actually relate with Krishna, Krishna's specific form. So we are able to, all our spiritual senses are activated in the spiritual world. So we are able to see with our spiritual eyes, we are able to hear with our spiritual ears. There is no material senses, there is no material form in the spiritual world, only spiritual form and spiritual senses. And these spiritual senses are not like fabricated and joined together and constructed, no. They are integral part of the spiritual body itself, of the living being. How do we know when we are pleasing God? For this, there is a formula. Before we actually are able to connect with God in proper devotional service, we should serve Krishna through the spiritual master. So we accept the instructions of the spiritual master, and by pleasing the spiritual master, you should understand that Krishna is pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. This is what is said by one of the acharyas. How do I please Krishna? I please Krishna by pleasing my spiritual master, who is coming in parampara, who is connecting me to the Supreme Lord through the parampara system. When we offer something to Prabhupada, he offers to his spiritual master. His spiritual master offers to his spiritual master. Like that, the offering actually goes to Krishna. And even the mercy or the prasadam that Krishna gives it to Brahma, Brahma gives it to Narada, Narada gives it to Vyasa, like that. In parampara system, we are receiving the mercy also, which flows downward. So in the parampara system, everything is perfect. So we can know we are pleasing God if we are able to please our spiritual master. And how do we know we are pleasing spiritual master? You just have to follow his instructions. Prabhupada says chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna. If you are chanting, then you are pleasing Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada asked this question, how do we know we are pleasing you? So Prabhupada said, are you following the instructions? The devotee said, yes. Then you are pleasing me. That is pleasing the spiritual master, following the instructions of the spiritual master as he has instructed us, as he has taught us, without speculation, without concoction, without distortion. Then we are pleasing Prabhupada. If we are pleasing Prabhupada, we are pleasing Krishna. Is this order correct? Body, mind, intelligence, ego, and conscious soul. This is the order that is given in the Sankhya philosophy, and this is the order that is also given in the Bhagavad Gita. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhi yo buddhi buddhe paratastu saha. So, this is the correct order, yes. 12th question. How can we understand when names are given to devotees pertaining to their nature, like Parikshit just at birth, Hiranyakashipu, etc.? That is possible because the astrologers were very, very learned Brahmanas who could exactly tell the future of the child. So, based on that, they would actually give the name, the proper name, pertaining to their nature or qualities. In the Bhagavatam, it is described the expert astrologers foretold about Parikshit's future also. Several things they told him about his becoming the emperor of the world and how he would rule. He would be the ideal king, he would be a great devotee, Mahabhagavata, everything they foretold at the time of his birth. They were expert astrologers, and it's a complete science. Somebody who is learned in that science would be able to read the horoscope and tell about the future. Why did Arjuna want to see the universal form of the Lord? That is explained in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Why did Arjuna want to see the universal form? Because in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how he has entered into this universe and how his opulences are present in this material world. Because that is another question by Arjuna. Arjuna is asking Krishna, in what different material forms can I think of you? Krishna tells Arjuna, you always think of me. So Arjuna is asking, how can I think of you? Arjuna is particularly concerned with the way a person, ordinary person in this world, is accustomed to seeing material forms. So in what different material forms, in the 17th verse of the 10th chapter, Arjuna is asking, Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. How should I meditate on you? In what various forms are you to be contemplated in this material world? So Prabhupada is telling Arjuna is thinking of the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world, this material world. Because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually, They are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. So those physical representations are described in this 10th chapter from the 20th verse onwards as opulences of Supreme Lord in the material world. And these are forms by which devotees think of the Lord. Now Krishna concludes the 10th chapter by telling that with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. What's the meaning of that? Prabhupada says, the Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as the super soul. The Lord here tells Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. All things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as super soul. So Krishna has entered into this world and therefore he is supporting and pervading the entire universe. Now in the 11th chapter, Arjuna is asking Krishna, O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I yet wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. Further, in the 4th verse, Arjuna asks this further question. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, kindly show me that universal self, universal form or universal self. So Arjuna wants to see, Prabhupada says, not because he is doubting anything Krishna has said about himself in the previous chapters, but Arjuna is considering that for the future, it is said here, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna. But in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting within the universe, although he is apart from it. Krishna is completely aloof from the material world. Yet, it is only because he has entered into the material world is the material world functioning. Arjuna's asking the Lord's permission is significant. So, Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion. For in the future there will be so many impostors who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people therefore should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show the universal form to confirm his claim to the people. Krishna showed his universal form, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. Similarly, anybody claims to be God should be able to show that universal form, the whole universe within their body. The next question. 14th question. What is meant by the sentence, Vishnu being transcendental to all the modes is always aloof from materialistic affection? This means Vishnu is not affected by the influence of the 3 material modes. There are 3 material modes, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. They are influencing all of us who are conditioned souls, who are under the influence of the gunas or in the clutches of Maya. Vishnu is a controller of Maya. He directs Maya. He controls Maya. He is not in touch with Maya. He is aloof from Maya. So he is aloof from material influence also, because he is completely aloof from Maya. His transcendental means is above the influence of the modes. If we become devotees, engaged in devotional service, pure devotional service, we can also be transcendental to the modes. Manchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Krishna explains that anybody who is engaged in pure devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, they can also rise above the gunas, become transcendental. But as Jiva is subject to the influence of the material modes, Krishna is never subject to the influence because he is always the controller of the modes. He is always the master, he is always the... It is said that the Mahabharata composition has changed by passage of time. It grew from 8,000 to 24,000 verses and then to 100,000 verses. How to understand that Vedic literature composition could change? Nowhere I have read or I have heard that Mahabharata composition is changing. Vyasadeva, whatever he has compiled, that is what is the Mahabharata that is available through the Parampara system, through the Acharyas. There are no big and small versions of Mahabharata. No. Should offering and consumption of eggplant, beetroot, carrots, white pumpkin be also given up? Found online. Hari Bhaktivedanta text reference says so. Now, you see the scriptures are giving a lot of rules and regulations, Dharma Shastra specifically, about what one should take depending on the vrata one is following, depending on the worship one is doing, etc., etc. So many rules are there in the scriptures, yes. But Srila Prabhupada has simplified these things for us and told us that among vegetables avoid vegetarian things, vegetables avoid onion, garlic and mushrooms, and rest of it you just you can make a proper preparation and just offer to Krishna and partake of the remnants as prasad. Vegetables, fruits, grains, like that. So we don't go through the different Dharma Shastras and try to follow those detailed principles, detailed directions for what should be taken when, etc. 17th question. 5,000 years ago, how everyone was able to see with their material senses Lord Krishna's transcendental form? It is because Krishna reveals. When Krishna incarnates as Krishna or Rama or Varaha or Narasimha, he reveals his form. Even though it is a completely spiritual form, even though it's a fact that with these material eyes we cannot see transcendental form, when Krishna reveals we can see. So it is a fact also that Krishna reveals his form. But then, if we are not having spiritual knowledge or spiritual understanding, we will see that form as a material form. Because what do we see with this material eyes? We see material forms. So it will appear like a material form, but it is not a material form. Krishna's form as, let us say, a son of Mother Yashoda. A very sweet-looking, cute, small baby. Now that somebody would have seen, unless they are having bhakti, they cannot see that form as a spiritual form, or they can't understand that form as completely spiritual. So that requires devotion. Otherwise, it will look like a ordinary, look like any other form of human being. Like that only it will resemble. Because Krishna's body is transcendental, how do we see the material sense Krishna's transcendental? Because Krishna reveals. That's why. When Krishna showed his material universal form, Arjuna was unable to see. Because that material universal form requires some special eyes. Seeing the whole universe sitting on the chariot. It's not possible because the universe is so big, and on the chariot what can be seen with these eyes is limited. So again, Krishna gave special vision to Arjuna to be able, for Arjuna to be able to see the whole universe within the body of Krishna, who was standing in front of Arjuna as the charioteer of Arjuna. So Krishna gave that ability to Arjuna by giving him special eyes. Tadami, he says, Divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashyame yogameshwaram. Therefore I give you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. So if you, a question is that if Krishna's universal form cannot be seen with his eyes, how can we see Krishna's transcendental form when he was present? But seeing is not everything. Please understand. We are seeing the sun when it rises in the morning as one disk this big. So do you think that is the size of this sun planet? No, it is millions and billions of times bigger than even the earth. So how can we go by what we see? Therefore we have to hear from the Shastras, we have to learn from the Acharyas, to learn from the Scriptures. What is Krishna's form made of? What is Krishna's form actually looking like, etc. We have to hear and we have to learn from the right source. Then we may get a proper understanding. And to actually be able to properly see with our spiritual senses, we have to adopt the process of bhakti and awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. Then only we can see. Next question. Bhagavad Gita describes Krishna as Aja, unborn. Then why do we celebrate Janmashtami as appearance day of Krishna? Aja here means Krishna doesn't take birth like a ordinary human being. He comes in his original form. But then he performs a leela of taking birth as son of Mother Yashoda, son of Devaki and Vasudeva. The birth pastime is peculiar to this material world. In the spiritual world, there is no birth of Krishna. There is no birth at all of anybody. So, that birth pastime is peculiar to the material world. Killing of demons is a peculiar pastime of this material world. There are no demons in the spiritual world, so therefore there is no killing of demons in the spiritual world. So like this, Krishna is described as unborn because he is always unborn. He comes in his original form, but that form we cannot recognize as Krishna's form except through the authority's description, through description by the great acharyas or by Shukadeva Goswami, we cannot understand. What exactly is the meaning of Samam Bonam? Samam Bonam means, that is a definition that is given in one of the dictionaries, highest good as the ultimate goal. Krishna is described as Samam Bonam. He is the highest goal of life for anybody, for all living beings. And he is also the highest good. He is all good. He is the highest good. That's the sense in which the Samam Bonam is used. Next question. In the first canto, 9th chapter, text number 38, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned Maushala Leela. I do not understand this. Maushala Leela is the pastime in which the Yadus, they fought against each other under some specific condition, and they killed each other. So it's called Leela because it is arranged by Krishna. There is no possibility the Yadus will develop enmity against each other or fight against each other. There is no possibility. But then Krishna thought that this Yadu dynasty is not conquerable by anybody on this earth. So how this Yadu dynasty was required for Krishna to reduce the burden of this world, to support him in reducing the burden of this earth planet, which was overburdened by demoniac persons posing as kings. So in order to reduce that burden, Krishna incarnated along with the Yadu dynasty. He came. Now that Yadu dynasty's work is over, how will that Yadu dynasty wind up their presence in this material world? So Krishna arranged something called Maushala Leela. So Maushala Leela is not to be mistaken to be some kind of animosity that the Yadus developed between each of them. They fought out of anger and they killed each other. There is no killing, there is no anger, there is no fighting. It is simply a exhibition of another leela of the Lord only, another leela of Krishna. That's it. Next question, please can you throw some light on the origin and activities of Garuda Deva, the Lord's carrier? Now Garuda Deva is an eternal devotee of the Supreme Lord, but he appears in a particular form as devotee only. He is a devotee, always a devotee, but he appears in that form. And his activities are very unique, that he is able to fly because he is in the form of bird. Pakshi Raja is also called Pakshi, the king of all the birds, Garuda. When he flaps his wings, it is described in the Bhagavatam, he recites the Samaveda. He recites the Samaveda, simply by flapping his wings. So he is an extraordinary devotee of the Supreme Lord. He is also the carrier of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants to travel on a particular vehicle, then he uses Garuda as his vahana. And he is also able to participate in certain leelas of the Lord when the Lord is fighting against some demons or some demoniac forces. And Garuda also, when he carries the Lord, he also fights against the demons and actually kills some demons. Now, as far as demons are concerned, whether they are killed by Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee Garuda, or Krishna's pure devotee Arjuna or Bhima, it's all the same. The demons are purified and they are liberated. So, Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees, either of them kill anybody. It's not a killing, it is actually deliverance, it is actually purification for them. Next question. Maharaj Yudhishthira left after Krishna departed to his eternal abode. Did he neglect his duties by doing so? No. Maharaj Yudhishthira handed over charge of ruling the entire world to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was trained by Maharaj Yudhishthira. And Maharaj Yudhishthira handed over charge. So where is the question of neglecting duty? He did not neglect duty. He finished his duties and it is time for him to return to his master and Lord Krishna. So he did that. Next question. Anybody has any question? I still have 15 minutes. If you have any question, kindly post them. I can answer them. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I'll close.